I'm waiting to pick up the kids. Part of rebranding is revisiting and reinventing. Jarvis has his official gear now, so he gets to come with me. He's happy about that. So, it's rebranding and revisiting. Hey, Baba. I'm happy you get to come with me, too. Part of that involves therapeutic approaches, and I have been in therapy off and on since the age of 5. I'm a big proponent of therapy, professional therapy. Always have been, always will be. But I also ascribe to alternative therapeutic practices because I think therapy is the point, not dictating what type of therapy. And I don't like group therapy. I'm not that kind of person. There's plenty of people it helps. It exists for a reason. I'm not one of the reasons. I'm not one of the people it helps. But I do like talk therapy. I do like giving voice to, literal voice, to the things that a person has been through. Not because it's easy and not because it's necessarily safe, but I turned 39 this month actually, and the painful, shitty, unfortunate, factual reality is it does help. Saying out loud what happened, what you've been through, actually does help. And unfortunately, there are times and there are places where you can say it and you come into situations where you can't. Sometimes that involves the law and you don't know what you can say and what you can't say. Sometimes because of non-disclosure agreements, sometimes because of ongoing court situations, and this is the internet after all, and things live forever, and eventually I'll be able to say all the things that I know to be true, but the reality for right now is that I don't really have another human being to talk to. I don't have my kids. They're not grown. They can't understand. Even when they're grown, I can't expect them to understand, given who I'm talking about, who that is in relation to them. I can't talk to my parents for a few reasons, not the least of which is the complexity of my own family tree. But the person I call dad and the person I call mom aren't biologically tied to me. The person I call dad suffered a severe heart attack a couple months ago. Spent most of that time in the hospital. Still hasn't recovered. And the person I call mom has spent that whole time taking care of him. And she's a number of years older than him. I've spent most of the last few months worried about them while going through what I'm going through and processing the reality of the last 14 years. I mean, because there's things you can identify the overt abuses, the things that are distinctly emotional abuse, distinctly psychological abuse, distinctly physical abuse. It's the long-term insidious, it's the long-term coercive. And even when you finally come to a point, as I did several years ago, where you finally manage enough of your spinal column to get rebuilt, where you say, this is abuse. This isn't just bad. This isn't just poor communication. This isn't just a need for work on our relationship. This is abuse. And you still can't get out from under. You literally still can't escape because you genuinely don't have the means. You genuinely have no resources available because you've been trying so hard to fix, you've been trying so hard to focus, to not let go of what you convinced yourself was the case, that you could fix if you could just get them to listen. If you could just get them to acknowledge what the problem was. It's hard to explain. I mean, I'm sure if anyone who's been through something similar hears it, some of this ramble will make sense, but you lock on to this image of them from the beginning, that you keep getting told, no, that's me. I'm that person. I'm that good person. That person who told you they love you, who told you all of those things. And that's the part to focus on. That's the good part. That's the part you want. That's the part that needs to be at the center. Forget about all the things I've done wrong. Forget about all the mean things I've said and done. I was wrong to do those, I admit, and I won't do them again, except, yeah, I'm going to keep doing them again because I'm bad at change. But forget that I keep doing them again. And you do. Not because you like that it keeps happening. Every time it happens, you say it shouldn't keep happening. You say it's a problem. But I mean, maybe it's especially true for people like me who are preconditioned for abusive relationships because I came from an abusive home growing up, because my biological mother was such an abusive force. But it just fucking hurts. Because you know it's wrong. It's the weirdest thing processing through trauma, because I'm neurodivergent, I'm autistic, and I have ADHD. So it changes how I see things, how I process things, how I interpret things in relationships. And I wasn't diagnosed autistic until really the very, very final pages of the final chapter of this abusive relationship. And I'm sure that plays some factor in things, but it doesn't change who I've always been. And I was always the person who said, you have to be honest with me, you have to be upfront with me. I don't like lies, I don't like shading, I don't like bullshit. Just fucking tell me. There's basically nothing I won't accept. I'm a member of the queer community. I am as far left liberal as, like it almost humanly gets. There's nothing that can't be discussed and figured out and worked out. You just have to fucking talk to me. And it wasn't 6 months after being married It was the first time I got cheated on. I got caught up in the excitement of the event of the day. So the 1 year that I don't go with you to that event, after 5 years of going with you, the one time you're not supervised directly by me, and I accepted. So, but and then it's the other things. It's the comments. It's the never complimenting me, but expecting compliments. Never boosting me up, but getting pissed off when I wouldn't reinforce you or lift you up or tell you nice things, and getting attacked for the fact that you want to do these things for yourself and you want to find this kind of joy and this kind of euphoria and this kind of thing about yourself. But I've made 2 human beings for you. And when I said I wanted to make a 3rd, you told me I wasn't allowed. Because it wasn't important to you. You didn't want that. Therefore, I wasn't allowed. Which is shitty enough, but that it comes from the same person who told me my miscarriages never happened before I actually made you 2 humans. And through all that, still trying to work on things, trying to say, you spend all this time on your phone, you spend all this time on your computer, you spend all this time never sharing a sleeping space with me because you're with your technology. And I feel alone and I feel abandoned. Well, that's just how I am. That's just how I am. That's just how I am. Me expressing interest in you and getting yelled at for pressuring you. But that's not a 2-way street. Because when that table turns and my answer is no, I get shunned for months because I had the nerve and that's processing trauma. Because it's only in the last 6 months, year maybe, that it occurs to me what type of coercion that is. How harmful. I mean, I knew it was bad and I knew it wasn't a good thing. But I had to literally talk to my therapist, to people who specialize in the field. I had to describe my situation and have someone say the words to me before my brain clicked and went, holy crap. I wasn't wrong. I said I felt used. I said I felt manipulated, and I was being used like a prostitute, basically. And and I was yelled at, and I was laughed at. I was told how wrong and out of line I was for even suggesting that to them. How me saying I felt that way, towards the end, I was told that the fact that I even said that, the fact that I said I had been saying that, could prove I had been saying that. In fact, guaranteed that we would never again have a physical relationship. This is after 5 years of not having a physical relationship, during which they had been physically unfaithful during a pandemic. You want to talk about disrespect for safety? There's enough STDs in the world, but during a global pandemic is when they chose to flagrantly sleep with somebody else. Pre-vaccine. But me saying once again that I had always felt used was the nail in the coffin of them making themselves physically available to me. Fucking audacity. So these are the thoughts that run through my head, and I have to try and process them. That so much of my life went into trying to believe this image that was presented to me, trying to fix and change so much about myself. It wasn't wrong. It wasn't wrong, and it wasn't broken. But when a person spends so much of their time constantly telling you, forget all the bad that I've done, because I'm just gonna keep shouting the nice words louder, and you want to hear the nice words, forget that I told you you weren't really pregnant when you had your miscarriage. Forget that I made a sexual joke about you publicly, and now claim to forget that I ever did it. Forget that I dictated to you how you have to give birth twice. It doesn't matter that you want 3 kids. I'm not going to give you permission. Even though you've told me you want 3 kids from our first date. So many years of this. It still hurts. And I don't know if it hurts because they were that good person and I was wrong to give up. Even after all the shit they did, after all the abuse, every wrong thing that I have proof of. Or if it hurts because I feel like a fucking moron for not seeing what a piece of trash they were. And allowing all of the things that were done to me. But you literally can't do anything else until you deal with the past. You can't function, you can't focus. You try to bury it, you try to hide it, you just make everything fucking worse, and when you don't talk about it, the abuser gets away with it. The abuser gets to keep pretending they're a good person. They didn't do anything wrong. My ex is just a nut. My ex is just prattling off some stupid nonsense. I'm really not. I have the receipts, I have the reports. I have my kids every week telling me that they don't want to go. And a court system that says we don't care what the kids want until they're teenagers. Then we'll give them a voice. Yeah, let's just inflict several years of trauma on top of everything else. It's not like they're capable of talking coherently at the age of anything before that. This really sucks. Living with all of this in my head. Living with knowing what happened. That I'm stuck in this place between I allowed it and I was taken advantage of. Top to bottom, every single fucking piece of this absolutely fucking sucks. And I'm tired of hiding. I'm tired of not saying anything about it. I'm tired of not talking about it. Because here comes yet another holiday where there's zero effort. Let's just run away to another state. I'm gonna get told, well, if you'd asked me, if you'd made an offer. Why would I want you anywhere near us? Why? I want you in another state. I want you gone. I want you further than that. Quite frankly, we all do.